The reason I decided to pursue war and society over something like history or classics because I'd been sort of interested in battles and military theory and tactics and things for a long time as I was growing up, doing GCSEs and A-levels and things like that. That was what I was leaning more towards when it came to studying things like A-level history and stuff like that, especially as you generally tend to look at things in the Nazis and the rise of fascism and things like that. And of course, there's lots of violence and infighting within that. So I kind of, when it came to applying for university, once I discovered there was actually a course called War and Society, I realised that I should probably pursue something more leaning towards, solving violence and things like that, rather than just recognising it as something you could study. But there's so much within what we do as a course, and it's one of the more worthwhile things is exploring all the little nuances and niche subjects within a battle and how that affects sort of wider campaigns and things like that. That's where I really stand with this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think mine's quite similar. My dad was always very interested and took me to events such as sort of World War II remembrance events. I think that's kind of where my sort of interest in the subject came from. And so when researching ideas while taking my A-levels, this popped up. I was like, oh, I've got to do this. It's just right up my street, and I think it's got stuff all the way back from historical events that originally got me interested to current events that affect us today. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I just sort of found that during like A-level and GCSE it was all the same thing. It was always learning about the Nazis or learning about Britain, and not really focusing on like the war side of it, more like the politics and the economics, which by the time I got to year 13 I was a bit tired of learning about that. And then I found War and Society, and like the amount of range it covers, like there's English modules and media modules and stuff like that. It's just such a broad subject, whereas history you're restricted to like history and politics modules, but you can study like so much, and then you can sort of narrow down your focus throughout the years of the things that you find most interesting, which I think is what drew me in more so than like a singular history module, because you study history your whole life.
Yeah.
And then like
I think we've done it long enough, haven't we?
You get to a point where you just want to explore different avenues, and this course I think allows
definitely.
you to do that quite well.
I think what I've enjoyed most since being here is just the range of topics that you can cover. For example, in the first year, the introductory courses go all the way back from ancient studies to Napoleon, and then from Napoleon to current events. And then as you go on through the years, you can kind of narrow down the subjects that you want to be interested in. So you can focus on like American sort of interventions in Vietnam, Korea in this Cold War. I think just the range of topics is just one of the best things about it.
Yeah, it was kind of a similar thing with me. I mean, all of us obviously kind of jumped into the course with a bit of background in it. We've all studied history or something similar at the very least. I came from more of a sort of classics background, so to be able to start our introduction to, warfare in first year with something classics-based, we looked at Greek warfare and things like that. Was the first thing I immediately knew what we were talking about. That was really great because I kind of pursued some more classics things in the first year because I was like, oh, this is my background. I know what we're talking about. Especially as when it comes to studying war, it's not all World War II and World War I and all that sort of stuff, which I kind of thought it might be. So when I realised there was lots of classics options, it kind of I sort of explored that. And as I went through the course, we did stuff like World War I in second year, which I found really interesting as well. And we pursued the Cold War as well. So it's one of those things that I guess I do want to say scope is one of the best things about it because we've just covered so much. But for me, it was kind of narrowing down my areas of interest because I came in with one thing and I've sort of come out the other end really enjoying something else. So I guess every year I've been here, I've found something really interesting.
Yeah, I've really, on a different side to it, I've really enjoyed. I've obviously enjoyed all the lectures and stuff, but the lecturers I think have really made it like more enjoyable. Like you turn up to a lecture and you have a subject, and it may not be like the best subject in the world to learn about, but they make it interesting and they find different ways of doing it. You have like PowerPoints. In one module it was all about like film and media, so we just learnt about, I think it was the World War I module. We did like a whole couple of weeks on film, which was like a completely different angle to something we'd never studied before. And it's just sort of a different way of learning, so they kind of cater to everyone's needs, and you kind of just get to know them throughout the year, which is really nice. Then you can like bounce ideas off of them, like in third year for dissertations and stuff. It just makes it like a more welcome experience, as I think like some courses, lecturers make themselves quite distant sometimes.
Especially if you've got a class of 200 people in something like history, when we
Yeah.
have slightly smaller sizes, but
Yeah,
at least
so
it's more personal.
Yeah, more personal,
Yeah,
and more like you kind of know everyone on your course by the end of it, which is really nice as well. What I've really enjoyed about Swansea is the whole atmosphere. It's a community atmosphere. I remember when I came on the open day, had the War and Society introduction. It was quite a small group of people, but you immediately just felt welcome. The campus is just like really friendly, and even though it's like massive, it feels quite small. And like to start with, you just turn up and you're like, wow, like there's so much here. Like, but everyone's so friendly and makes you feel really welcome. And then like with all the introductions to all the new people you meet, you can get quite overwhelmed. But I feel like previous students make you feel welcome if they're at the open days, which is what I hope we'll be able to do to the new students. But no, I think the whole atmosphere like made it for me, and then obviously the course added to that with interest and stuff.
Yeah, I think one of the things I've really enjoyed, especially in third year, is the society. Being able to kind of set that up and be able to kind of do what we want to do outside of the lectures, getting together, whether it be a film night or organising an event with other societies. I think I've really enjoyed that so far, and I think it's one of the good things that we can continue on, and it just gives more, it just enhances the atmosphere, I think, and allows students to do more stuff outside of lectures to enhance their experience.
It's a similar thing with me, really, because when it comes down to it, obviously, we're all here to study, but meeting people is half the effort of actually moving away somewhere and living somewhere else. I mean, a lot of people don't necessarily move far away from home to come to university, but I'm about 200 miles away. So it's really nice to be able to, especially as I lived in halls in first year. So when it comes down to being in halls, in comparison to, living off campus, some universities do have everything off campus that I lived with a whole bunch of people that I still know and speak to today in my third year. So it was really nice to be able to meet a bunch of people that we'd walked to lectures with and stuff like that. And as the societies got bigger and bigger, it's nice to be able to have, you have your lecture side of university where you sit down, you take your notes and you learn things. But then the other side of it, if everyone's studying the same thing, we're all on the same boat, it's really nice just to meet a bunch of people, especially in Swansea, because everything's so close together anyway.
So much to do.
Yeah, there's so much to do. I mean, the campus isn't that far from the centre of town either, so there's always stuff going on, and it's great. It's just, I think, to talk about atmosphere as well, there's always so much going on. There's so many societies, and, it all kind of works together really well. I don't know if you get it anywhere else, really.
Mm.